all right. So first off, acknowledgement and thanks to bassist Greg Hanna, who put this together. Really appreciate that.
Plushy.
You guys played together in the Dickies, and
Yeah.
there's always that special symbiotic relationship between the drummer and the bass player. And I'm
Oh
curious,
yeah.
what do you look for in a bass player, and why did things work so well between you and Greg?
Oh man, I think honestly, it just has to do with the components. And he and I were just of the like. We were like, we got to get in there. We have to get the job done. We have to learn these songs. We want to play together. We want to be tight. Those things where like there's a bass run going off and it, and you think about it night after night at rehearsal, or 2 or 3 gigs in, and you're like, that's bad as hell, man. I'm stepping all over that crap. They're just like, instead of me going, let him do it, So there's that where you just have to kind of have the guy in the seat that knows when to say when and when to allow the other guy. So we always had that, really.
Mm-hmm.
We always kind of like, it was pretty easy. He came from the same school I did, MI, although I only went there for like 5 or 6 months. My mother passed away and I had to leave MI halfway through. But yeah, we came from the same modality where like you just want to get in there, you're like the skeleton key.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where you just have to get in and figure out the gig and do the gig and not overstep it. I don't think either one of us really overstepped it in that gig. We both sang, so we both had singing parts, and we both were playing our asses off and singing like the Vienna Boys Choir on crack and helium. Because la la
Yeah.
Mary Rosemary. There's so many like weird, trippy backup harmonies that we did, and that's always the coolest too. When you get a bass player that you sing with and that you can play with, and you do have that like you said, that symbiotic relationship. But really, what I look for in a bass player is just someone who's just learned and who's got a broad range of music that he likes and is into different things, and just you really need, well, all musicians, but really for a bass player, drummer bass players, just really got to be able to lock in on so many different levels and different things and the intricacies and the ins and outs. So just looking for someone that really knows music, loves music, is a student of music.
And it's interesting, I mean, because he talks about it in the same way, and we've had very detailed discussions about it, and as you said, talk about, all right, we want to get this right, and make sure everything is down to the atom as far as good as we can make it. And the interesting thing is, because you look at Dickies performances, you look at TSOL performances, there's this vibe of anarchy going on. And so I always found that a really interesting contradiction. It's like, people think, oh, there's that vibe that you just kind of tumbled out of the van and fell out on stage and started jamming. But it's like, well, no, there's a lot of thought and precision that goes into the madness that you see.
Well, yeah, especially with bands like that. Those guys have already laid the groundwork in stone on their LPs, on these like cult classic and loved LPs. Like, it was crazy just to come to see, to be at a Dickies show and see who would show up to see us.
Yeah.
Like, it was gnarly. It was crazy. Like, I remember once we were up in the middle of nowhere and Pat Smear, out of nowhere, who I think was just in the Foo Fighters, had just joined the Foo Fighters, but I knew him as the guitar player from the Germs, and then the guy who like played acoustic guitar, with Nirvana.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, I hear him go, "Stan Lee, the Dickies," and I'm like, "What the hell?" And it's him. I'm like, "Wow, Pat Smear, oh man, how you doing?
Right.
I mean, all kinds of. I mean, it just that's just the tip of the iceberg. And the same thing with TSOL. These guys are revered in the punk scene, and so many people would come out to see them, and I knew I had to do a really, really focused job, with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard, man. It was hazing that went on in that band. I love those guys, but the hazing was insane for like 3 or 4 years, you know, of hazing.
Years.
And years.
How long do you have to be considered the new guy, for crying out loud?
I was the new guy for 10 years. It was really interesting. I was the longest drummer to ever hold a seat in the band.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we really accomplished a lot in those 10 years as well. I really like TSOL, reestablished a foothold, got a grip. The material that they have is fucking phenomenal. It's amazing. So many people kind of dismiss, you know, the punk and the rock era of TSOL and this and that, all the fighting, but they both kind of hold their water material wise. They really do.
Right.
And it was just fun. But when you get into those gigs, you have to pay attention to the source material.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you have to hammer the source material. You can't just get in there and say, okay, I'm going to kind of give my take on these things. You know, the kick and the snare pattern is the kick and the snare pattern. You know, it goes up and down in time. There's these weird, like, little flows and ebbs and flows in TSOL songs, especially, that you really have to catch on to.
Yeah.
Everything is super. So everything really, really fast with the right hand eighth notes.
Mm-hmm.
On the ride, or else people would look at you and be like, oh, he's going quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. So, and it's a lot of fun. And yes, but it was very controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it like TSOL was absolutely a top fuel dragster. There was Jack Grisham has no fucking governor. None whatsoever. And that's the amazing, and that's the legendary thing. That's it. He just gets on stage, he looks at the crowd, he feels the crowd out, he knows what's happening, he sees who's up there. Bunch of kids up front, they're gonna chill for, well, you know what? Or maybe his idea might be, bunch of kids up front. We're going to hit him with 3 slamming songs first, and Tiny's not going to stop in between the songs because we want to see these kids completely get mangled or just going ape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we never ever, Chris, had a set list once.
Which is, I read about that, which is amazing.
Just a weird way to be for me.
Yeah, one of the bands I work with is the Fabulous Thunderbirds, a very different kind of group, but same thing, no set list, and I am just always amazed that not just Kim who leads them, but all the guys in the band that wow, they are ready for freaking anything. You don't know until 10 seconds before what song you're going to play. You
literally have to. Oh, this is a great picture right here, by the way. You literally have to be holding on by the seat of your pants for gigs like that. Like it ends and you're like, what's happening? But what's really funny is I had some training years ago when I was in a wedding band, and the freaking guy would just turn around and he'd be like playing the keyboards.
Yeah.
And he'd go, Unchained Melody. And you'd be like, what? And then he'd be like, Unchained Melody. And you're playing a song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, right?
Right.
So there was this whole thing going on where like I was, what in the hell? But it got me going to where that band had 2,000 songs. We almost never had a set list. There was a bunch of hits that we had to hit here for the dance, for the this, for the cake, whatever. So we had to know what those songs were.
Yeah.
But I played, probably safe to say, a few hundred weddings in a super top dollar, top tier. At the time, it was $5,000 to $10,000 a wedding. And that was in the early 90s.
Wow. Yeah.
So that trained me for Jack from TSOL. What a bad wedding singer segue, but for real, it was so funny. The first few gigs I had, well, first off, audition was played a bunch of half songs, and Roach and Ron were like, that's great. Good job. I was like, don't we want to go to where it slows down to where the next part?
Yeah.
Like, no, you probably got it. You seem to know like everything. I'm like, okay. And then I played about 7 or 8 songs like that, Chris, and I was just like going, oh wow, this is a trip. The singer is not going to come. The singer is not here. He is not coming. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Hour goes by. We did about 9 or 10 half songs and talked.
Okay.
They're like, see you Friday at the Casbah.
Oh my God.
San Diego. I'm like, okay. Packed Casbah show, mobbed, line out the door. I'm there early. You know, I'm always early. I'm always setting up early. I try to get a vibe for the whole thing, so I know what I'm getting into. So I'm not stressed out. I kind of hold a lot of stress, and I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I just want things to go good. So I'm there early.
Yeah.
Which people never really seem to understand. They always think it's like, I just want to be a rock star and I just want to hang out and, you know, and you just do cocaine off the fruit platter or something. And I'm like, no, I really have to like tune my drums and everything needs to get dialed in. And it's just like, this is a huge room. And I play a 16 and an 18, you know, floor tom as my toms.
Oh, wow.
Or 14, 16, 18. So I'll use a 14 floor tom most of the time in TSOL. A lot of times a 16 clear, 18 clear, 24. So it was just a big monster thing. And I had to control that sound. I had 18s or 20 crashes depending upon where I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to dial all that stuff in. I'd get there early.
Yeah.
These guys kind of, you know, never really understood that, but it was just a focus thing. You know, there's so much riding on these things, and you show up and the fans are out the door and they're into it. They know the music. They really do. They know.
Right. Yeah.
So they know that stuff, and you got to kill it, you know. And so those are stressful. Those were stressful times. Those first few years. There was some interesting moments, but this is funny because this is like one of the first few gigs with TSOL, and you know who that is? Hold on.
Is that Greg? No.
That's Casey Royer.
Oh. Poking his head around the rack tom there.
Yeah, from the Adolescents, DI, fucking every other major punk. And it was such a blast to just tour with those guys. And like the guys that we got to tour with, it was gnarly. It was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was your question? Did I veer off the topic?
No. That's what I love actually, is when you know, you just go with it kind of thing.
No, it was a blast. The TSOL gig was a blast. But yeah, I was always a new guy. It was interesting.
And then, you know, you talked about in one interview how your rep now, you've come to be thought as a quote punk drummer.
I call myself the budget Josh Freese. You know, I'll play with all those bands.
Yeah.
If the energy's good and the people are cool and it's fun and it's a couple of bucks in my pocket, man, I look, man, people have accused me of being a poser, all this kind of stuff. I've played drums for 40 years, man. Yeah. I love music. I've raised on Billy Joel, Elton John, the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, Kiss, Scorpions, Iron Maiden, Metallica. You know, those are like my roots, you know, from 10 to 14 years old when you're just sitting down doing your thing.
Yeah.
So I play it all. I love to play the drums, and I'll join any band.
But I thought that's what was interesting is, you know, because you in these interviews you have talked about, you know, your admiration for guys like Liberty DeVito and such.
Oh yeah,
and cool. What I'm wondering though is, you know, again, when you're listening to, well, okay, so first off, professionally speaking, how does one break out of like pigeonholes to get more diverse opportunities?
You know, Chris, I would just say just be that guy that's available. You know, go out there and play a cajon with someone with a mohawk and tattoos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I always kind of felt like I was honestly always trying to break a mold somewhere. I was always trying to break a mold, whether it was with acting, because I've done acting before, whether it was with acting and music, always trying to fit in somewhere where I shouldn't be fitting, because I don't think that that should be we're not there anymore.
Yeah. Right.
You know, things are so broad and varied that you can find a 10-year-old girl on the internet that has the most incredible taste in music because her father has been playing her records since she's 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
And she sits down on the drums and she's just unbelievable. And then she just goes off to school.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just a little schoolgirl.
Right.
So nothing is as it appears.
Yeah.
Anymore. And I like that.
I'm also wondering too, like when you have this background in all these different types of music, the Billy Joel, Elton John. I'm curious, because it seems to me like that's all tools in the toolkit, either mentally or with muscle memory.
Yeah, yeah. It's all just bows in the quiver, right?
Yeah,
it's all just arrows in the quiver, right? You're like,
right. Well, so what I'm wondering is what those particular arrows. What did you learn from that music that informed what you've done in the punk world?
Right. Well, for one, dynamics. For two, structure. Grooves. Formulaic aspects of pop music and stuff like that. Repeating things. Laying the roadmap, being the guy who plays don't let the sun go down on me. Boom, 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 pa, every time. Boom, 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 pa. So that's not really necessarily always in the punk world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to bring to it. With the Dickies, with the Dickies, interesting. It was more of an intricate process where they had their things all stacked. But TSOL, it was like kitchen sink. You know what I mean? It was absolutely kitchen sink. So I think that I just tried to get in there and because again, reviewing the source material, when I got the gig, 2003, 2004, YouTube, all these things were just available. And I was looking, I was paying attention to things and I went over to their manager's house and got DVDs and CDs and just learned a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Then was really asked to play 5 songs and got the gig. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then showed up and Jack Grisham walked on stage and said, "Hi, I'm Jack Grisham." As God is my witness. And it was, I see it now as that's Jack's charm. That's Jack. For Jack not to give a rat's is his charm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for me, it just always had me nervous, always had me off.
Yeah.
Because people weren't prepared necessarily or on time or whatever. And I was just always like, oh God, I just kind of, ooh.
Yeah.
And it's just my, ooh. Mm-hmm. As I get older, there's certain things where I'm like, ooh, don't want to do it. It's not organized. It's oh.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Had I known then what I know now, I might have not even bothered trying to interject into their process. I might have just shut up the whole 10 years. You know what I mean? Because they had their thing and no one was going to it wasn't going to get messed with. That's just how it went. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was always kind of like, let's dress up more. Let's put suits on more. Why don't we have backdrops? Why don't we have this? Can you guys pay for this? We need this art. And I was like, but we're playing in front of all these rad bands and you guys are like the baddest. You're like revered. Like the guys in the band that we're playing, opening for us, standing on the side of the stage, just watching you guys. And
yeah.
I just always wanted us to look the part on stage as a big picture. I also have worked in movies and television since 1993.
Okay.
So I've done like probably want to say 400 movies
Wow.
as art department or construction or actor, stuntman.
Hmm.
It's a lot. I just did 80 in the last like 10 years, from 2010 to 2009, like did like 80.
And what
So
I'm curious. I mean, because both artistic.
just seeing the big picture. I'm just talking about. I got off topic, but it was just about seeing the big picture and
Yeah.
going on stage and seeing this. Like, look, you got something back here. You got something over here. It's kind of a thing. This isn't in my face. I'm not like this.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And I was always kind of cognizant of that and like really into that. And those guys were like, this fucking guy wants to like dress up and
All right.
I'm like, no. Forget it.
Yeah. No, I get it, and it's if
And then I was
nothing
just like,
else, yeah, it's a sign that you care and you're into it. It's
now they're
whatever the opposite of apathy is.
and they're still playing. They still kick ass. Their
Yeah.
new drummer Antonio is a buddy of mine, and I wish them well. They do their thing. I just know at the time I was like the guy that was just always trying to get my hand. They were like,
Right.
I wind up bailing. I quit just because they just wouldn't give me a raise. It was literally 10 years of being the new guy, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to make a thing of this and just see if they do anything, and they didn't, and I just bailed.
Hmm.
But I have the best and the coolest memories with those guys. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you talk about, God, the number of bands you've been in, all the work you've done. You've been, you've talked several times about you have been paid to visit 35 countries and 48 states. And, but what I'm wondering,
that's all I tell people. I'm like, just,
yeah,
if you don't need to be famous, just go travel all over the world and never have to pay your airfare, and you'll feel great. Trust me.
But
you don't need to be on a magazine.
Right. But as a
it'd be nice, trust me. But
yeah. But as a road warrior, how have you coped or made use of this last strange year?
Dude, I have been learning. I've just been cooped up in the studio, just been learning. I've just been creating and learning. I wrote a drum album that is just complete. It is bombastic tracks that can be used for background or for movies, television, can be grabbed for a scene, for a short movie, anything okay. Basically, any media that would need some music background. So I did that with my engineer, Christian, via Zoom.
Oh.
And I said, okay, click, control my computer.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's my stuff. And I was in my studio, which I've since lost due to COVID and all this mayhem. But yeah, I just been learning, building, creating, learning, trying to refocus myself, refocus my energies with my friends and my family. And just reach out to people, try to understand people a little bit better, a little clearer. And try not to buy into conspiracy theories and make too much of things that we already know to be there, and they're just now apparent because everyone's filming them.
Yeah.
So, just really been learning. I mean, really, to answer your question, Chris, just been learning. I got masterclass.com, and I have watched the Ron Howard, the Timbaland, the Hans Zimmer. Gosh, I'm blowing it. There's a couple more. Such a cool thing.
Yeah.
The masterclass. So that's really been fun and interesting learning, and just watching people's processes and understanding how they facilitate their team members around them, how they utilize their team, how they utilize the people in their lives, whether it be musicians, friends, family, coworkers. And that is going to be what we all really need to focus on. In the future is the human nature and the interactions between two people across from the table. Yeah, definitely. And so I've been looking at how people do that and how people assign, especially with the Ron Howard one. Gosh, that's so good. The Ron Howard one's just amazing.
Hmm.
You know, Ron Howard, the director.
Yeah, yeah. What I haven't seen that one though. What does I mean? I'm assuming it's not all camera positioning and things of that nature.
No, no, it's literally just this whole really cool. Yeah, so much of this stuff I just dove into it. Obviously, you know, just due to COVID boredom,
Yeah.
and then also just kind of trying to understand that everyone's process, we can learn from everyone's process,
Mm-hmm.
no matter who it is. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You're able to take it to the next level with whatever you're doing by learning from someone successful. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just what I was trying to do, was just kind of like be this guy that was trying to hone in, and you know, here we are now on Zoom having an interview meeting, and I'm wearing glasses, which I don't hardly ever do, but I definitely have to do now.
Yeah, I do too. So
I'm
I get
looking like, you know, it's like, first off, it's early. My eyes don't even open up sometimes till like noon.
it.
Musician talk. I'm up so late. So yeah, just been rebuilding my studio too. This last year was like a shit show with my business. I used to have this studio called the Boom Room in North Hollywood, and I had everybody from Tony McAlpine to Eric Singer from Kiss, Slim Jim Phantom. All these different guys would come and jam and rehearse and hang, and it was my spot.
Yeah.
And they raised the rent. They were going to raise the rent anyways, and then right when COVID hit, it was like the rent raise was happening, and everybody in the building was like, you know, kind of like in front of the building, like with a picket sign, like, hell no, don't raise the rent. Hell no, we got no work. Hell no, don't raise the rent. Hell no, we ain't got no work. Hell no, you're a stingy prick. Hell no, we ain't got no work. And the guys still raised the rent. And I was moving people out of the building who were like crying in tears. But I recovered. It was cool, man. I basically built a thing in my house, and now I have a Clear Sonic. Shout out to Clear Sonic, because those guys really saved my ass. I have a Clear Sonic booth in the garage. And that thing is basically, it's right now, because I've kind of made a room inside a room in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I now have a little room, which is my garage space, with a door. You go in there, and then there's the Clear Sonic booth in the room.
Oh, nice.
And I've just been recording. I just recorded, it drops today on 420. The Cottonmouth Kings record.
Okay.
So I recorded a couple of songs last year at my old studio, the Boom Room, and then I just recorded about 6 or 8 more 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just been a process of learning, man. You know what, dude? I do not sit still. I'm not a good sit stiller.
Yeah.
You know, I would make money on tour, and I would come back, and I would be home for one day, and I'd go back to work doing construction on a movie.
Just because sitting still, not you.
Well, because then you spend your money.
Oh.
And then over there was some money for you to have.
Yeah.
And so you're a foolish dodo bird if you leave money over there. Because here I got some, I'm just going to eat and get fat and like wait for the next tour. Like every other guy, I'm going to go to the Rainbow and try to drink my life away and make sure everyone knows that I might be on tour sometime soon. No, I just go to work.
Yeah.
Just get work. Just get money. Get paid. Get gear.
Yeah.
Get gear. Get smart. Get learned. You know, it's like it's been a process like that for like a long time. Yeah.
And you know, I mean, because you kind of the whole thing with the studio, you had a post on Instagram a little bit ago where you had kind of alluded to this and everything, but it seems with everything you always spin around to the positive, you know, eventually. I mean, everyone goes.
Oh, with me wanting to punch someone in the nose, the whole thing where like I just wanted to kick someone's ass.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I had a buddy like just totally cank me on a business deal. Like I've never been jerked before. Like, and it just really inexplicable, inexcusable, lots of ways to get out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pivot. You cannot stop the kid. It's
but I think
it's a thing, man. It's a thing. This is no stopping me.
But I think that's especially important in the music world, especially this last year, but also
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that extends outside of the music world because there's so many different people in different jobs and things like that who have just
Yeah.
gotten sideswiped. But,
Yeah.
and I think that you're a good example of A, adaptability, and B, perseverance. And I'm wondering what advice you can give, to people about those things.
Well, you have to wear all your scars as a badge of honor. You can't try to hide them. You can't try to run away from them. That's number one.
Hmm.
Too many people try to put all the things that have given them heartache or trouble, like away in a closet, in a hole.
Yeah.
I just talk about it. I have pictures of my parents. I lost my parents very early. I was 18, 19 years old, just 19 when my mom died, and 21 when my father passed away.
Hmm.
So ever since then, I've been on my own, doing my own thing, my own money, my own time, my own stuff. Just knowing that they are there, they love it, they're seeing every bit of it. It's not something that kills me, hurts me. I could cry at the drop of a hat. It's incredibly good for acting. At
Hmm.
any moment, I just need to think about them, and I will bust
Hmm.
hard.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great for that. But I think a lot of people, especially in this industry, just run away from whether it was abuse, whether it's sexually, mentally, physically, and they just try to portray someone else that they're not. And I've just always been someone that's worn my heart on my sleeve. And the people that like that are around, and the people that don't and that don't get it, they're not. And that's the way I've always kind of been.
Hmm.
So it seems like I have thousands of friends. I have about 10 friends, close friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The rest of them are just people that I know. They're just high five dudes. What's up,
Yeah.
bro? You know what I
Right.
mean? And I love them, and they're great people. But I have 10 friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
and several of them are thousands of miles away. And they're people that I can always talk to and depend on and call and shoot to build that place, in your garage. I'd be there right now helping you. Don't worry about, So there's it's a thing where you just have to keep your circle really close. Keep the people that mean a lot to you really close. Talk
Mm-hmm.
to them, a lot. And you'll always be able to move forward. You'll always have that focus. You'll always be able to have drive and determination.
But it's
For me,
also, I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, it's also wonderfully anachronistic in the days of social media, where everyone is doing what they can to airbrush their life, their public
I
image
gave
to
up on
be.
that a couple years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
did. And I was really good at it. I was really good at it. But a couple of years ago, something switched with me. I think it was something to do with the Me Too movement, to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
and the way people viewed attention, and just the way we're drawn to imagery and images and photos, and what we take from it, and how people are processing it, and how children are processing it, and how business associates are processing it, and how, I'd go out to a NAMM show and people would be like, dude, right on, you're the, oh. And I'd be like inside going, yeah, it's okay, I guess. Feeling all right. And it just kind of got to me all of a sudden. I just kind of wanted to be more real.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a TV producer a couple of years ago who was like, you have to drop all of your social media rants, all the things where you yell about the rich people on your street,
Mm-hmm.
speeding. You don't want to be labeled as a person who hates the rich.
Right.
I'm like, but I kind of do, Rick. I mean, unless they're wonderfully giving and philanthropic, and they're not retardedly, like, just ridiculously, ambivalently, just whatever with their dough.
Yeah.
I just, and I don't, yeah, I look at it like this. People should just be allowed to do whatever they want with their money. Yes, well then just stay over there. Just
Mm-hmm.
stay over there. Because from where I'm standing in America, it's shaky.
Yeah.
It's shaky. I tour. I see all the states.
Yeah.
I see all the people. I see all the roads. I see everything. It's shaky.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a perfect TikTok execution of the dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of it is.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see reality, and sometimes it is a bummer, but the truth and reality of it is that you can grow from that bummer, and you can have wonderful, great things and drum sets and endorsements and travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you do have some, pain and some strife and some struggle, and it's all right there.
Yeah.
It's right there, but you got to use it properly,
Right.
You got to
And
use it properly.
I don't know, to
Not
me,
be too assholey, snooty about it, which sometimes I am. Sometimes I always have this feeling like I can do anything, man. So that's how I am when I'm out somewhere. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can build a house. Some guy can come in with a drawing of some weird spaceship that's drawn ridiculously on a piece of paper with like some ghetto measurements. Like, yeah, I think it's 9. I think this is 8. You're like, okay. And at the end of the day, we've built it. I can do anything. You know what I mean? So that's how I hope. That's how I roll.
Okay.
That's how I roll. Yeah.
No, that sounds great. That sounds great. I mean, I think people would be a lot happier if they had that same kind of attitude.
Yeah, you just got to get out there and conquer a bunch of those obstacles, and just get over those couple of things that trip you up and that bum you out and that you think are holding you down. And then it's just like every day, just get up and do it.
Yeah. And then kind of along those lines, and just one more before I have to go.
Yeah.
You had this great line in another interview where you said, you don't have to be famous to have a great life in music.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what constitutes a great life in music?
Okay, this is a great life in music. You with your friends, you with your family, you with your church, you with your band, doing what you love to do. Success is you just waking up every day working towards a goal, no matter what it is. If you have a goal to have the best dance party band in town, go out there and do it every single day. You're living a good music life. You know what I mean? If you want to go out there and tour the world, for me, it was always about traveling. I never, honestly, look, I'm the fat kid. I'm always the fat kid on the block. So it's like, I was never really interested in like the imagery of like the rock stardom. I wasn't really worried about the photographs and stuff like that, and it's been like that for a long time. And this shirt's not coming off because there's a bear back there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I've always just kind of been like, I just want to sit behind the drums and travel. If I'm in the video, that's cool. If I'm not, I don't care. Credit me. I want the dough and I want to travel. That's it. I always have been cognizant of the idea and the knowledge that the singer is going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, not you. Make the band good. The singer needs to be good. Everyone needs to know where the hell they are. Do your job back there. Play the stuff. Play the drum beat. Play the fill where it goes. Start and stop in the right spot. Have your stuff all together. Your stuff's all tuned. Your stuff all sounds good. That to me was always most important. It was always most important. I'm just thinking about it now. Like literally in 1989, I remember tuning my drums and polishing my drums and keeping my drums all together from my old metal band, Rude Awakening. I used to play Raji's in Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always been that way. I just have an affinity. I love drums too. So it's always really just been about putting the best drum part, the best drumming for that part forward.